In Romans chapter 7, Paul is talking, and Paul, among other things, gets to a point to where he says, you know what? I know I'm an imperfect man. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what I'm not supposed to do. The thing that's most frustrating, though, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, is that the things that I know I'm supposed to do, I don't do those things. But then there are some things that I know I'm not supposed to do, and I'm all over that. He says, I'm just doomed. As a matter of fact, when I look at my sinful self by myself, all alone by myself, the only thing I can say is that, gosh, I should be condemned. He closes that chapter, though, by saying, but I thank God for the gift of Jesus. Because, and you have here Romans chapter 8, verse 1. I want you to read that with me. Because, ready, let's go. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
Good morning, Revealing Truth Ministries, family and friends. Welcome to this Tuesday morning Deeper Dive Live. We are live in the building with the Joneses. The Joneses are in the building today. Yes.
What?
Yes, the Joneses are here. We also have the livest live audience in all of Tampa Bay in the building. And it's great to have all of these folks with us, but we want to take a time to recognize you. Thank you for being here on the Deeper Dive stream with us. Let us know that you're here. Drop something in the chat. Welcome and say good morning to those that you're chatting with. We appreciate this opportunity to spend this time together in the Deeper Dive. It gives us a chance to attend to the things that God has said to us. We've determined to be people who are most blessed indeed. And this is an awesome moment. I get to spend this time with one of my favorite families.
Oh, far too kind.
Half of the Joneses. There are two more of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kids,
And
like,
the little ones.
I don't know.
The little ones.
That's okay.
You know.
Family matters, so why not explain what the family is?
Yeah,
Right.
the two other kids.
Right.
Yep.
So we have Ricky,
Yes.
Crystal Jones.
Okay.
And then they have little ones in order.
Rain.
Rain, Demi Jones.
Well
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
Yep.
And Ricky
Jones
the third.
That's very true.
Also known as Mr. Handsome.
3 stacks.
Depending on who you talk to.
And
3
3
stacks.
stacks.
Yeah.
He got a lot of names.
Bud.
True. He
Bud.
loves
That's
Bud.
my boy.
Okay, now he knows you're talking.
That's
when he hears
That's
Bud.
my boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're here. We get the opportunity to look back on Sunday. Pastor Benjamin from our West Chapel campus.
Shouts out to
Yes.
Pastor Benjamin.
Yeah, was here.
Yep.
And he taught a message. He gave us his installment for the Family Matters sermon series, and he talked about condemnation.
True.
Yes.
Right, and through the message, though, we always get the opportunity to reflect back on the things that are important to us. And he did talk about values and family
Everybody wants
values, you know, family values, and we make it our business to be intentional about living out our values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of people, I mean, it's one thing to talk about what you values, but values have to have actions that go along with them. Like what you value really lives. It's really the things that you do in your house, right? And so today we want to talk about the value of treasuring your family members, right? Treating your
Yes.
family like treasure.
Yes.
And wow, you know, when I think about the little ones that you have, Rain is 6.
7. She just turned 7 in May.
Yep.
Rain is 7.
She is
Yes.
already.
Rain is 7.
Yeah.
And Ricky is 4. Okay. So when we think about all the activity and the busyness and liveliness of your house,
Yeah.
talk to us about what you all do to just live out that value of treasure. We treasure our family. We treasure family time, family members. How does that work? What does it look like in the Jones house?
Yes. You want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
So I would say I definitely feel like I know that was a value that we took on very early in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky and I don't argue. We don't be arguing. I know it sounds weird when we say like we don't argue because everybody's like, no, everybody argue. We don't. We don't waste our time with these things. But one of the reasons that I know comes from treasuring each other, like instilling that value early on in our marriage. I can remember in our first year of marriage, and we had probably been we were still living in Atlanta at the time. We'd probably only been married maybe like a couple months at best. We only lived in Atlanta for a year before we moved to Tampa, but it was like a couple months, and Ricky and I had gotten into this argument, and I was like, what is happening? Like, and so, because even while we were in our very short dating period, we didn't argue. Like, it wasn't our thing. And so, but I remember God distinctly telling me, like, I was like, what's happening? Because I would even get annoyed by little things like, why you don't want to eat a million different types of food? Like, just real different, like small things, like very small things. But God was like, Crystal, I created you different for a reason. And you have to see the value that his differences bring to who you are. And that'll help you understand why I put the two of you together and the strengths that he'll be able to bring to what I'm calling you to do, the strengths you'll be able to bring to what, you know, he's calling Ricky to do, what he's calling us to do together. And so really just to, instead of getting upset or frustrated, say, okay, God, in moments where there are these differences, what are the things that you put him intentionally that you knew would create this strong union? And so literally from then on, I stopped getting frustrated even by something as him not trying every different kind of food. Like, I was like, no, like, Crystal, you will literally try all types of stuff, but he's bringing that balance of, you don't need to necessarily try everything, you know what I mean? Like, even in a sense of like food. But so instead of getting upset or frustrated by different tendencies that he had that were different than mine, I started to learn to value and treasure the unique aspects of his personality that, you know, that he is. And so that happened, like I said, very early on in making that adjustment.
Treasure the diversity. Anybody who knows Ricky and Crystal Jones knows that, I mean, you have two personalities.
Okay. Well done.
Two personalities, right? So I do, as I listen to you talk, I think it would be a very difficult living situation if you see, even trying to imagine the two of you trying to conform or like shape each other or place a lid, cap each other, right? With the personalities that you have. That would not be a fun situation. It would not be a fun environment.
No.
So yeah, God gave that wisdom early, right?
True.
And but it makes for who you are, right? I mean, all of us get to enjoy the diversity of the Joneses.
I'm glad you used that word, enjoy.
Yeah, we enjoy the diversity of the Joneses because y'all learned how to live with one another.
Yeah,
right.
And then even going forward now with the children in our household, we use opportunities together to find ways to value each other. So like dinner time. Dinner time is very important to us. We sit at the table. We have no TVs on except for on Wednesdays when it's like Youth Sunday. We'll turn it on the latter end of dinner. And we talk to each other. How was your day? Yep, no phones, no electronics, right? Because electronics will take away from the opportunity to learn about each other. And so what was your day like? What are things that you went through? And sometimes the kids are kids, and they'll tell some elaborate stories. Right? Some will call them lies. However, others will say elaborate stories, and you get to hear, oh, okay, that's how you're correct. It's going, right? There's times where Ricky's driving his teacher's vehicle to go get donuts, and it's like, wait a minute. Okay, let me hear more. Whereas Rain is like, no, Ricky, you're lying. Like, stop lying. But I'm like, let me hear. What is this? However, it's allowing for us to see what's going on within them. And then allowing for us to then value the things that are developing within them. So there's that time. But then even when we come home from work, it's like, okay, let me talk with them. Let me spend time with them. And Ricky do his thing. Rain will do her thing. Crystal will do her her thing, right? But just allowing for us to have space, time, and opportunity just to be us is a way in which we're able to value each other because we know where we are in any given specific time.
Yeah. It sounds like the first, like a fundamental thought is to rethink how we normally would think about differences, right? Most of the time we see a difference and we kind of treat it negatively. We want to conform it. It's not our way. We want everybody to flow our way. But the wisdom was, no, like this is good. This is good.
Yes.
And I think that just having that type of perspective, I see how that could benefit a couple or a family because now I'm making normal what will happen. Like, we are not the same people. At some point, the differences are going to show. Right. But I've made it okay instead of being like trying to get rid of the differences. We're ready to embrace them. And then even see I love when you talk about you seeing the value in the difference because it allows a person to be who they are, right? You allow a person to bring their diversity to the family and see it as an asset, not a liability.
Yep.
Right.
And even with that, right, Pastor Benjamin talked about no condemnation.
Yeah.
And when we came together, right, she was doing some things that I'm like, wait a minute, what is she doing? Why does she not do certain things, like as far as like maybe cleanliness or just little things like that? Whereas in, like she said, food was for me. Right. Cleaning was my thing. And I'm like, what is going on? And in the no condemnation part, my mind then goes to, man, like, how was she raised? Like, what did her parents' house look like? If this how she acted here, like, what environment was she raised in? So I had to not condemn her and then even cast that condemnation on her parents. So I would just ask her questions like, today you didn't make your bed. You didn't make the side of your bed. Like, what's up with that? Like, you don't like making your bed, or did somebody make the bed for you? And so I was asking questions just to find out her roots. So out of that, I would know what to expect going forward. So at this given day, I'm not one to like look at the things that she may do or don't do that I'm accustomed to doing because that's the way I was raised or I expect for a wife or just an individual to do. And so I don't have condemnation on her because I saw like, why are you doing this? Why is this different? Why are you different this way? Right?
Yeah.
Like, help me to live beyond this moment because I'm frustrated now. And I don't want to live in this frustration and condemn you and your parents because of my frustration. So help me, somebody. And we talked, right? To her point, there's been no arguments beyond. I don't even remember what the argument was. I'm like good at forgetting. And so I don't remember what the argument was. However, it hasn't been arguments beyond that because I just tapped into asking her, why is it that you operate or do it this way? And then because of that, all right, cool. Now I expect nothing less.
I don't feel badly about not cleaning as much as he. If you wanted to be cleaner than this, we can hire somebody to do it. Like,
that is her statement now.
Right. And because at the same time, I'm not like this, gross person or anything like that.
Yeah, for the record.
But he's
talking in the mic.
Is very very particular about not OCD, but he's very particular. Right. And so I'm not gonna
it's noises outside.
Listen, there's people in the room.
Might be a wreck or something outside.
Right.
I think we can all relate. Maybe a little OCD, but it's okay. You don't call it.
Go ahead, man.
But I mean,
understand. We understand. I'm with you right here.
To that point, though, like, I'm not gonna live in condemnation of not living up to his expectation.
Correct.
Like, I'm not gonna leave things like dirty and all of that. But if you want it cleaner than this, do it yourself. Like, pick up where I left off to take it to the place that you want it to be. Like, and I mean, and even with that, I adapt that to like the trash. Different homes, people have different responsibilities. In our home, normally I do the cooking, I do the dishes or whatever, and Ricky take out the trash. That is that's kind of, and he do some other stuff too, not so much, but he'll vacuum, he'll do other things as well to assist.
The rest.
But that's the way that,
the rest. He said the
whatever.
rest.
The rest.
Over here.
The rest.
But the trash, I don't really take out the trash. That's not my thing. Yeah. So if he's busy or whatever, and he does a good job about making sure it gets out, but if he get busy and whatever, and the trash is like, okay, man, the trash is full. It's like, overflowing or whatever. I know in my mind, I don't get upset and be like, man, why he don't take out the trash? If it bothers me that much, I can do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Most times I choose not to. I choose to ignore being upset about it.
Because eventually he's going to get
like,
it. He's going to get it.
Maybe once every other 3 months, I will end up taking out the trash.
Got it.
But really outside of that, I just don't do it. Because, again, if it bothers me that much, then I could do it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to mind my business. I'm going to take the dishes out the sink because I can't be upset with him about the trash overflowing and his dishes in the sink. Like, I can't do both.
Right.
Like, I can't be upset about both. No, let me go do what I need to do. And he going to make sure the trash go out when it need to go out. But I'm not going to sit in frustration like, that's dumb. To me, that's dumb.
Yeah. But then I even see how it's worked for you all in other ways.
Yeah.
When I think of the word condemnation, I think of something being closed. Like whenever you condemn something, you've kind of ended it. You put a period right there, and it's done. You've capped it. But then asking questions or just allowing a person to flow, giving that person room, keeps you open. But it also has opened you all up for opportunities, right? You're a very creative couple, and that we've all had the opportunity to see you all get involved in things that I think maybe have been birthed from your giving each other room to do what you do. And because you haven't closed each other off, there are opportunities that have opened up for you.
I definitely agree with that. I know and I think sometimes condemnations come, especially with couples. Like you said, we do a lot of things. We'll have business ideas, all kinds of things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. Yeah. But in understanding that we're both growing and developing, and nobody's ability to hear from God is 100%. Not placing that condemnation like, man, we just spent $1,000 on this and you're not doing it anymore. It didn't work the way you said or whatever. Like, we don't do that to each other. One of the reasons for that is we make sure, like, on the front end, like, we say, like, oh, I'm going to do this thing, like, and, we make sure, even if I don't fully understand it or he doesn't fully understand it, we get to a place where we both decide to move together. So then when, you spent the money, the thing didn't work, there's not like, well, you spent our money on this. No, we both agreed that this is what we was going to do. And, we feel like this is the direction God wanted us to go in. And if it didn't work out, it's okay. We both agreed. Yeah. So even with us moving to Tampa, or, we're about to make a really big move to another country. And so, but even with that, we have those conversations where it's like, listen, this is not all on you. This is not all on me. Like, we're coming together to make this decision. So whatever happens on the other side, like, we're saying up front, we are deciding this. And so having that unity up front keeps that condemnation from coming later, because sometimes, especially in a marriage, people will be like, you said we should move in this house and now we broke. You said we should move here and now it's not working. You said we should get this car, now it's getting repossessed. Like, we avoid a lot of arguments because those conversations can't even happen, because up front we establish a we are doing this. So listen, if we go broke, we're broke because we decided
doing it together
that we are going to do this.
Man,
and I think that a lot of couples have to double down on that beforehand, because again, once you establish that up front, you can't get to the other side of a thing and then be like, oh, you took this promotion and now you're so busy. Now we decided that I was going to take this promotion, and now so you can't now be upset with the time that's required, the energy that's required. You're getting on me about these things, but we agreed up front. Now we can have another conversation if we are deciding we don't like how this looks anymore, but we're not going to place blame and condemnation because we said.
Yeah. I want to come back and ask what that's done for your children. Before we talk about that, though, let's dig in a little deeper and talk about along this journey and the different things that you all have done as far as businesses, social media, things like that. There has to be, of course, there are things that you've treasured there are things that you treasure about Crystal, and you see when she comes up with an idea, what you know about her, the things that you value, lean you towards saying, okay, let's do it. And same with you. There are things that you know about Ricky. When he says, hey, let's try this, the things that you value about him give you confidence and say, okay, let's do it. So let's talk about just like, even if you got to look into her eyes.
This is a session.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. I'll give you what you want. I don't mind looking there.
But
This place called
even
home.
if you think about what is it that you treasure in Crystal that when these opportunities come or ideas come up, I mean, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Before you even get started.
So I would say two things that I undoubtedly value about her is one, her ability to hear from God and her relationship with God. That was something that was even a value that established us as a union, from her hearing from God that I was her husband and from me hearing from God that she was my wife, right? She heard from God prior to me hearing from God about her. So that was like, boom, shakalaka, we there. And then beyond that, her relentlessness, right? She has an undoubtedly tenacity to do whatever it is she puts her minds through or to. And I love that. I love that about her, right? So if I was to look into her eyes, I would say, I love those things about you. And as you hear from God and share what God shares with you, it excites me, right? Because you're hearing from the creator of heavens and earth about the things about your life, our life, and our kids' life.
Put
and
some
it's
hearts
exciting.
in the chat.
You know
Put some hearts in the chat.
I'll put
Let's go.
hearts and double thumper, you know what I'm saying?
chat.
And then with it, she's relentless, right? And I love,
Mm-hmm.
love that about her, because I am too. I'm a person that says, well, maybe this is one of your things, but if I say a thing, we gonna do that thing that we say. Like, I'm all about doing what you say. So if you say God says, then let's act on what he says. And so those two things, hands down, are her greatest qualities that I value about her, and I treasure as well, to make sure that it has a space and a place to be able to operate. So if you hear, let's do it. If it's something that you want to do, let's run, because I don't want that to go down or to stop. So those are my two things.
What you want to add to that?
I would say for Ricky, one for sure is his commitment to see something through. I know Ricky, if it's something that he's gonna do, one, I know he heard it from God, but so he hears from God, but then his commitment to do it and do it right and well. He doesn't rush into things. He thinks about it like very meticulously. He has steps 1 through 5, but always leaving room for God to adjust those steps. But he will lay it out. So I know when he comes and he says, "Oh, I want to do this thing," it's not just some thing that he woke up that day and decided, and it's like, and we'll figure it out along the way. Like, no, like he is like, okay, this, and then this needs to happen, and this needs to happen. So I know he has a well thought out, process for whatever is going to happen with what it is. So that's one of the things for sure. And then the other thing I would say is his integrity. Like, top tier, like that is one of the things that in life I love most about Ricky. I think that it gives me the ability to trust the God that's in him. And I say that a lot of times. One time, Pastor Cynthia was teaching a message, Pastor Cynthia Bridgerton, and she was like, I don't trust Pastor Tony, I trust the God in Pastor Tony. And that is something I can undoubtedly say about Ricky. I can trust the God in him. That integrity, it shines through in everything, everywhere, with all that he is doing. And so I know, even if he says, I want to do X, Y, and Z, if there comes a moment in whatever is happening that starts to bump up against a value that we have as a family, a value that he has as a Christian man, like something tries to challenge where his integrity would be and who he's saying he is as a man, he's going to be like, nah, never mind. That's not it. Like, I can trust that his integrity is always going to keep him on the right path. So that makes it easy to say yes to whatever it is you want to do. If he like, I need to get up and leave the house at 2 a.m. to do that random thing, sure, do whatever it is you're doing. I don't care. I'm going to sleep. That is literally, he doesn't do that, but that is literally how much I can trust the integrity that he has, because he has shown it time and time and time and time again in so many situations.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Thank you, man.
Let's do this. Let's do this. In the time that we have remaining, let's talk about how that translates to your children who are growing. I mean, I'm not going to say it. They're growing up, right? Rain just had a birthday.
Yep.
All those nicknames running through my head. Right. Little Ricky has a birthday coming up in September, right? 26. And I know that you all are starting to see their development. You're watching over them, watching their development. So when we talk about like finding those, I'll call them nuances, because even the things that you mentioned in with a different perspective, those same things are things that could get on other people's nerves, right? Like some people can't deal with relentless, right? You know what I'm saying? You know. So finding out how you can treasure those nuances of character, how does that translate to your children? Starting with Rain first, right?
So
oh man, that's my girl.
With Rain, especially like I call it emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
She is very aware of her emotions, how she feels about things, how she's.
I got to put a pin in that right there. See, you're the way that you even framed the way that you speak about it is what we're talking about, right? I mean, you see characteristics that some could be bothered by, but we're going to frame this in a way that God gifted you with these things, and it's going to turn out for the good, right? So she is emotionally intelligent.
Yes. And so even when I say emotionally intelligent, I think that points to her having an amazing ability to have a gift of discernment in the future, because she is just so aware of what is happening. How, like, even at 7, she's like, she'll be like, Mommy, I called to check on you and see how you are doing. She asked about my mom. How is Grandma doing? How is she feeling? Like I recognize that that's the gift of discernment is really developing in her, even at an early age. And so the framing of things, I think that could be a lot of it with kids, looking at some of the characteristics, like this chick is crying all the time. Rain, she sheds her fair amount of tears. But I had to stop looking at it like, girl, you a crybaby. No, I've never called her a crybaby. I'm not going to call her that. Again, looking at the framework of, okay, God, what are you doing in this? And she's a child. So she's still having to learn how to develop and walk through what this is. But what is this developing into? And like I said, I believe it's like the gift of discernment. She's learning to articulate and express what it is that she's sensing or feeling may be happening, whether it's with her or with other people. She's able to do that. So looking at things with the proper framework, whether it's her or whether it's Ricky, he's extremely assertive. He's a leader.
Absolutely.
He's a leader. But the framework, instead of looking at things and seeing them as annoying or why are you doing this, like, God, what is this being developed? And how can I best nurture that?
And then too, what we did as parents, right? We realized our parts as parents, we're to steward God's blessing and God's gifts. They're not ours, they're God's, and we're stewards here. And so even as we find ways to treasure them, God, what is the reason why they're here? What is their purpose? What is the reason why they were born to us? Like, how can we better steward them to be all that you have birthed them, called them, and purposed them to be? And it's like, okay, with that direction, now we know how to flow. With that direction, now we know how to go. So, yes, we do have proper language and understanding as it pertains to them, but it all came from God. Okay, God shared with us, we know what Rain will do in life. We know Ricky's part in life. Okay, let's steward them in that direction, right? As the word says, train a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart, right? Not just in the knowledge of God, but also in the knowledge of their calling and their gifts. So we'll ask them questions. What is God saying to you? What do you think about this? And she'll share, I think such and such is pregnant. Wait a minute. You say, what? Okay, we'll call it that person. And they're like, oh no. And shortly thereafter,
real situation.
Person's pregnant, right? Yeah, like real situation. And she said it about somebody else. So, we'll see. However, all that to say, it's not a surprise because God has shared the gifts that they have with us. And so now let's steward them, right?
Yeah.
Let's value that within them, but then also allow for them to see the value of that within themselves.
Yeah.
And I know we're like super low on time, but I would say that's extremely important as well. I know some people may think we lean too much into what Ricky may say or what Ray may say, but we recognize gifts in them early. And so not being so quick to brush off that God may be saying things to your children that just because they're children thinking they can't hear from God or something like that. I remember when Wayne was 2 and we were, or 1.5, 2, something like that. And we were like, oh, okay, we want to have another baby. And Rain kept walking up to me and telling me, pointing at my stomach saying, baby, baby, baby. And I'm like, girl, what? And I had taken pregnancy tests. They were negative, all of that stuff. I went to the doctor. They're like, no, you're not pregnant. And she's like, baby, baby. And literally, it was maybe within like 2 weeks. The doctor's like, oh, you are pregnant. And they couldn't see it or anything. And the timeline of when Ricky was born and everything was based on when Rain first said it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't brush off the things that she says. I don't brush off the things that he says.
Yeah.
Like, just because they're children, your children can hear from God,
Yeah.
especially if you're raising them and growing them in the church.
I'm going to share this Ricky story, this little Ricky story.
As the Godfather,
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Godfather.
I'm here for it.
I took little Ricky to the park. He was probably 2.
Okay.
This was when he didn't talk a lot.
Okay.
Remember that?
That's the
Yeah.
He was like 2.
Woo.
I mean, it was like,
Very minimal words.
yes, very, very
My
low, right?
Lord.
And
Times have changed.
we're at this park, and there's a slide on top of a hill. So you climb the hill, get on the slide, go down. Rick is doing it. Climbing the hill, slide and go down. I mean, 5 times. He's just going back and forth, right? There's another little kid that is struggling with climbing the hill. This other little kid is about Ricky's same age, and he's struggling. He's whining. His mama's like trying to help him, but wanting him to be independent at the same time. And Rick seems to be minding his own business, doing laps around the little kid, like lapping him, like. And Rick, with no words, goes down the slide, walks over to the little kid, and pushes him. Like, bro, let's
That's
go.
how you
Let's
do it.
do this,
Yeah.
We
man.
end up this
You know what
other
I'm
day.
saying?
Right,
Yes.
right.
Enough is enough.
No words, no nothing, just observing. He pushes the little boy until he gets to the slide so he can go down the slide. And at that point, I was like, bet, there it is right there. He's a leader.
Yeah.
He's a leader.
Yeah.
He's the
Right,
captain of the ship, right? So
right.
absolutely, we got to
Yeah.
value the things that we see, especially when we see them over again.
Yeah.
God doesn't show us these patterns for no reason.
Yes.
And then it is our responsibility to treasure, value
Yep.
what we see, steward it well,
Yep.
because it ultimately builds his kingdom.
True.
And that's the business that we're in,
Yes.
right?
That's it. Kingdom builders.
Kingdom builders.
Very much so.
Yes. Today's a good day. It's a good Tuesday. It's a good Tuesday. I'm looking outside. It's a little overcast, but I know a wise man that used to say, bring your own weather, right? Make your own weather. So it's a sunshiny day. Enjoy it all day. Know that we love you. God loves you. Keep attending and keep being most blessed. We'll see you soon.